In the fall of 1993, we stood at the curb in front of Lydia's new dormitory at Columbia University. The New York air was sharp and unfamiliar, so different from the salt and eucalyptus of the bay. Leslie was already unloading her suitcase from the trunk. Erin sat quietly in the back seat, and Jay, now 12, was fiddling with a Walkman, pretending not to care. I stood with Lydia just outside the entrance. She was trying not to cry. I wasn't even trying. I already felt the sting building behind my eyes. "You don't have to worry, Mom," she said, wrapping her arms around me. "You gave me everything I need." I held her tighter than I meant to. I wanted to freeze the moment, to tuck it away and keep her 18 forever, on the edge of becoming. "You'll call?" I asked. "Every week," she promised. I watched her walk into the building, her ponytail swaying, her stride full of purpose. I was proud, achingly proud, but I was also afraid. Not because I doubted her, but because I saw myself in her. The girl who straddled two languages, the girl who carried family in one hand and ambition in the other. That year, I turned 48. I had expected it to pass quietly, another candle, another cake. But something about the number struck me. I was no longer young, not quite old. I had raised 3 children, built a solid career in finance, kept the family together through recessions, relocations, and Reagan. I had kept Cantonese alive in dinner conversations, mailed red envelopes every New Year, and made sure my children knew how to bow at funerals, even if they didn't always understand why. And yet, I felt unfinished. There's something cruel about the midlife mirror. It reflects not just what you've accomplished, but everything you didn't do, the roads not taken, the talents set aside, the parts of yourself you tucked away while raising others. So I began writing again. It started with scraps of memory, my mother's hands, how they worked dumpling dough with practiced tenderness. My father's voice, low and slow, like a fairy cutting through still water. The smell of jasmine rice wafting through the apartment. The sound of Leslie humming an old Cantonese ballad as he brushed his teeth, always off-key, always endearing. At first, I wrote in a journal with no intention beyond the page, but soon the pages began to fill quickly, as if the words had been waiting decades for release. I wrote about leaving San Francisco for Berkeley, about becoming Ellen in a classroom that couldn't pronounce Hoi Lam, about Leslie, about giving birth, about trying to belong. One afternoon, I left my notebook open on the kitchen counter. Jay found it. She sat on the stool, legs swinging, reading in silence. Then she looked up and said, "You should publish this." I laughed. Who would want to read about someone like me? She didn't blink. Me. Her answer sat with me for days. That decade, I began to understand something I had never allowed myself to believe. My story mattered. Not because it was grand or extraordinary, but because it was real. Because it held the quiet truth of what it meant to grow up American and Chinese. To be both a daughter and a mother. To carry history and hope in the same breath. I had spent so much of my life proving I belonged. At school, at work, in this country, I had spent so much energy fitting in that I forgot to remember myself. But maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe the story wasn't finished.